Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jake the Happy Snake here, and welcome to episode 1400 of Jake Wants to Be a Millionaire. Yesterday, I walked away on the 13th question with 125,000 pounds. That was converted to $125,000, and that brought my overall total to $93,805,342. So, yes, this is the 1400th episode of the series, which is just absolutely insane. This series has been going on now for over 5 years, 1,400 episodes. That's crazy. So what I'm going to be doing for today's episode is I'm going to be having two games of the second edition British Game Boy Advance version of Millionaire. And you might notice that this episode is releasing more than 9 hours after it's supposed to be, and that's because I have had one heck of a day with this episode on my YouTube channel. I've just had so many issues with it, and it's absolutely driven me crazy. So this is one of the very few times where you'll see a new episode of the series not being released on the time that it's supposed to be on. It's still on the same day, but not at the same time, and I feel bad about that. But whatever, not much I can do about it. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to be having two games, which means I could win up to £2 million, which would be amazing. It's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Here we go. Let's get to it. Here is the first question of episode 1400 for £100, which actually applied to Friday the 9th in April 2000. That's a weird way to put it. Friday, April 9th, 2004. Good Friday. So A is my final answer. Okay, that is £100. Moving on to the £200 question. Who won his sixth World Drivers title in October 2003? Michael Schumacher. Alright, that is £200. Here we go for 300. Who held a charity party at Aintree to celebrate his 18th birthday in 2003? I'm pretty sure that's Wayne Rooney, so let's go with B, final answer. Alright, that is £300. Now we're going for 500. Which of these countries lies west of the UK? Okay, my geography is not great, but I think it's Mexico, so we'll go B, final answer. Alright, that's £500, and now the first guaranteed level for £1,000. Which of the following is the brand name of a type of processed cheese? Alright, I believe that is Laughing Cow, so we'll say B, final answer. There we go. That is £1,000 guaranteed. Very nice. Alright. So we're 10 away from £1 million. Moving on to question 6 for £2,000. Which of these titles was bestowed upon Margaret Thatcher? I think it's Baroness, so I'm going to say A, final answer. I mean, I'm not risking any money because guaranteed £1,000, but there we go. That is £2,000. All right, now we're going for 4,000. Question 7. Which is not one of golf's majors. That's for sure going to be US Pro-Am. Final answer. Okay, £4,000. So far so good, 7 out of 7. So of all three lifelines, we're now moving on to question 8 for 8,000. Here we go. Which decade did Fleetwood Mac release the albums Tusk and Rumors? Well, I've heard my dad talk about Fleetwood Mac a lot. The lead singer of Fleetwood Mac actually was in an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, but pretty sure I've heard my dad say it was the 1970s, so I'm gonna lock in C, final answer. Alright. Good. £8,000. All right, next up is question 9 for 16,000. We're doing okay so far. Here we go. 16,000 pound question. What is the UK equivalent of the CIA in the United States? Okay, I think it's D. So I'm going to make that my final answer. Alright. Good. 16,000 pounds. We're now 6 away from a million. So all 3 lifelines. We're in pretty good shape right now as we go into the 32,000 pound question, which is the second and final guaranteed level. So let's try to get this one right. Here we go. Who was the only woman to feature on the reverse of a current Bank of England banknote? Well, yeah, that would be Elizabeth Fry. Final answer. There we go. 32,000 pounds. That is guaranteed. It's always a great feeling getting through the first 10 questions without using a lifeline. That's exactly what I've done in game 1 here. 5 questions away from £1,000,000. Still have all 3 lifelines. We're in great shape right now as we jump into the 64,000 pound question. Here we go. In ancient Persia, what was a magus? I have no idea. I'm gonna phone a friend. Now, is the phone a friend gonna know this? It's not likely. Which at that point, I don't know what I'll do. I guess I can take a guess. It's a free guess at this point. Ooh, interesting. Alright, the phone friend says it's A, priest. Well, I mean, when the phone friend does give an answer, it is correct, but the problem is that they never give an answer. But in this case, they did, which is great. So I'm going to trust them and say A, priest. Final answer. All right. Thank you, phone a friend. That is 64,000 pounds. Okay. We are 4 away now from a million. Still 2 lifelines. Oh, boy. Moving on to question 12 for 125,000 pounds. Where did Elia Kazan found his actor studio in 1947? Oh man, I have no idea. I'm gonna ask the audience. Hopefully they know this, but I don't know. It's for a lot of money. 34% say D. Where was D? Was that New York or was that LA? New York. Okay, I'll trust that. I'm risking 32,000 pounds on this. I'll say D, New York. Final answer. Yes! Thank you, audience. Okay. Very good. 125,000 pounds. All right. We are now 3 away from the million. We still have the 50-50. This is getting exciting now. We're going for 250,000 pounds. Here's the question. Which country did the post of ombudsman originate? I think it's Sweden. I'm pretty sure it's Sweden, and I have the 50-50, but that could be really useful in one of the last 2 questions. Just trying to think if I'm comfortable enough to go for it. 93,000 pounds is what I would be risking. But for a chance to double to a 250,000 and see the £500,000 pound question, that would be fantastic. I know that I've heard this ombudsman. I know, like, I'm pretty certain that it's Sweden. So I'm gonna do it. D, Sweden. Final answer. Yes! All right. Woo! Oh man, yes. Okay, that is 250,000 pounds. We're only 2 away from 1 million. I still have the 50-50. This is getting amazing. We're going now for a $500,000. Okay, here's question 14 for £500,000. What nickname was given to the singer Alison Moyet by her father? I'm thinking it's either Elf or Fred, and in a situation like this, the 50-50 could either be really useful or not useful at all. Okay, it could leave A and D. I mean, it could also take them away, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those two. Let's use the 50-50 and see what we're left with. We're left with Elf and Miru. So, I'm feeling pretty good about Elf. I know it's a 218,000 pound risk, but oh my gosh, this is crazy. It would suck to lose that much money in episode 1400, but I guess there's a chance I could lose even more money. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say A, Elf. I'll go for it. For 500,000 pounds. A, Elf. Final answer. Yes! Woo! Alright. Yes. Oh my gosh. That is a $500,000. I cannot believe this. I actually cannot believe this. We're going for £1 million right now. Episode 1400. This is absolutely wild. Here it is. The 15th and final question for £1 million. Project Blue Book was a U.S. operation to investigate which of these? Okay, UFOs, screenwriters, nerve agents, corrupt policemen. Okay, here's the thing. I'm like 90% sure that I know the correct answer to this. Because I took an astronomy course, a university level astronomy course, 3 years ago, and I learned about UFOs. I can't talk! Oh my gosh. Project Blue Book. It was an investigation for, it was an investigation for UFOs. Like, they were investigating UFOs. So the correct answer is A. I know it's a lot of money to risk, 468,000 pounds, but like I'm quite certain that UFOs is the right answer. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say A, UFOs, and I'm gonna make it my final answer. That is £1 million! Yes! Woo! Oh my goodness. Episode 1400 is already one of the most memorable episodes of the series. And it's only one game. Oh my gosh. At the beginning of this episode, I had a chance to win £2 million, and that chance is still as alive as it was at the beginning of this episode. I have one game left to play, and if I do what I just did, if I do it in the second game, that's gonna be £2 million. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that. Oh my goodness. It feels good to actually know a £1 million question, like to know the answer. Oh my gosh. That is my second £1 million win in this version of Millionaire, and hopefully I'm on my way to my third £1 million win in the coming game, because this next game is game 2 of episode 1400. Honestly, I just want to add up my overall total right now, but we still have a second game to play. This is great. That's fantastic. I'm so excited about that. That is my 22nd top prize win of the series. Absolutely amazing. For that to happen in episode 1400, that's fantastic. Alright, it's going to be very difficult to top that, but I've got to move on to the second game. So here we go. Here is the first question of game 2 for 100 pounds. Which country is not an island? Germany. Alright, that is 100 pounds. Now we are going for 200. Which Irish rock band shares its name with an American spy plane? U2, one of my favorite bands. Alright, that is 200 pounds. Now we are going for 300. Which of these provides a link between television programs? Announcer. Alright. That is 300. Now we're going for 500 pounds. What is the disturbed water left behind a moving ship called? That is wash. Final answer. Alright. 500 pounds. Now we're going for 1,000 pounds. First guaranteed level. In the USA, for which organization would a G-Man work? That is going to be the FBI. Final answer. There we go. That is 1,000 pounds. That is guaranteed. So I have won, in this episode, 1,001,000 pounds at the very least. So that's awesome. So I'm 10 questions away from my second consecutive £1,000,000 win of the episode. Let's move on to question 6 for 2,000 pounds. Complete the name of the U.S. rock group, The Flaming Lips. Final answer. Alright. That is 2,000 pounds. Let's go for 4,000. Question 7. What is controlled in Britain by the BBBC? Boys Brigade, television, boxing, film, censorship. I'm actually not. I'm not really 100% sure about this, so I'm just gonna play it safe. I'm gonna phone a friend. Because I mean, you know, it would just be it would be really funny if the first game I won 1,000,000, the second game it just, you know, only won 1,000. C, boxing. Okay, I'm gonna trust that. Final answer, C. Thank you, phone a friend. That is 4,000 pounds. Now we're going for 8,000. Still 2 lifelines, the 50-50 and the audience. Okay, question 8 for 8,000 pounds. Which of these chemical elements is named after a Norse god? That is thorium. Final answer. Alright. 8,000. Okay. We're more than halfway to another £1,000,000. Here we go for 16,000 pounds. Question 9. Who went on a Blonde Ambition tour in 1990? Madonna? Or maybe Annie Lennox. I'm gonna use the 50-50. Yeah, of course. Alright, let's go Madonna. Final answer. Alright. Perfect. That is 16,000 pounds. 6 away now. The next question is for 32,000 pounds, the second and final guaranteed level. We still have the audience. Alright. Here's the 32,000 pound question, which is not an imperial unit of measurement. Well, that's going to be a hectare, so A, final answer. Awesome. Awesome. That is 32,000 pounds guaranteed. And we still have a lifeline. We still have the audience. All right, 5 away. If I answer 5 more questions correctly, that's going to be a total of £2 million. Oh my goodness. Here we go for £64,000. What are the Berg, the Buys, and the Bora? I'm wondering if it has something to do with water, which would make me believe that it's either A or B. So let me just think here for a second. In towards whirlpools. I don't know. I really would like to get the million again. This would be the most, like, it already is one of the most memorable episodes of the series, but if I won the £1 million twice in this episode, it would be the most memorable episode of the whole series. It'd be probably the best episode of the entire series. So even though I'm not really sure how confident I am in the audience at this point in the game, it is good to have a little bit of, it is good to have backup, just in case, and if I can hold on to them for as long as I can, that would be nice. So I'm gonna take a chance here. I'm gonna say whirlpools. Final answer. And it wins! Oh my goodness. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh boy. Oh well. You know, I mean, that first game was still just phenomenal. It really, really was. So, £1 million in Game 1 and £32,000 in Game 2 is a grand total in this episode of £1,032,000. That is converted to $1,032,000, and that brings my overall total to $94,837,342. Wow. What an episode. I know it's late. Much late. I don't know. I don't think I ever released an episode of the series on a Friday night before. But again, I just had an extremely complicated day with this episode, and it's just, oh my gosh. But guys, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you all have an amazing weekend. This will be forever be just an episode that I'm gonna remember for sure. You know, that was my 22nd million. That was my 22nd top prize win in the series. That £1 million win that I had in the first game. So yeah, I mean, that happened in this episode. So that is for sure memorable. Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, have a great weekend, guys, and I'll see you back here on Monday for episode 1401. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.